Hello Geeks and Gamers, Matt Lemke here with Through Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com, and today we have a Kickstarter preview for you of Beep Beep Attack. It's on Kickstarter right now. For those of you that haven't seen it, it's a very quick-paced game, easy to learn. I'm not going to say simple strategies and tactics, but there's enough tactics in the game to keep it challenging and moving. It's a draw-go kind of concept. And basically, we're going to set up the game and play through. First, I'm going to let you know that each player gets one weapons card as part of the game, and each player gets one upgrade as part of the game. And these are fundamental in the setup. The goal of the game is to, and I've already randomized these, so just looking at the bottom card is not going to hurt us any. The goal of the game is to build your robot and destroy the enemy. Both players start with one piece, which, well, we're going to do the upgrades first. Oops. How about I flip it over? Not that it is too terribly difficult to understand the concept of what's going on. And then I'll go over the cards real quick. Now, you might notice that there's two cards here flipped over. Those are extra right arms because one of the cards in these at the start of the game could grant you an extra right arm, and then you would attach that piece immediately to the robot. Now, when you're done dealing the spare parts, they go to the side. What I like to do is I actually keep them separate as best I can remember, because when you start the next round, you're going to start the same way. It's going to be the same exact setup, except that you'll keep these two cards in front of you. Basically, you're going to have the different parts to build your robot, and we're going to zoom in on this robot here real quick and go over the card. And as we play the game, I'll go over a couple of other things. Every robot has the name along the side, the attack, and the defense. The attack is always in red. The spare parts cards have numbers up here in the corner, 1 through 4. They determine who goes first. The lowest number is the first player. And the player changes every round, so we'll go over that in a second. I'm going to zoom out so we have enough space to play a game. This is player 1, but before we do that, these are tactics cards. Basically, one is an overload card, which would double an arm, all the stuff on the arm, or it can counter one of these malfunction cards, which a malfunction card basically disables one of your opponent's robots. And if we get some of these cards, we'll see that when we get into combat. So I'm going to throw these into the middle of the deck-ish somewhere randomly because you have seen those. This is an upgrade right arm. Basically, this makes it immune to a malfunction, and it also doubles the power, can you tell I play Magic? The attack and defense of the card. That particular card, or that particular arm. This is a weapons card, and each player will keep this through the game, and again, you're going to crush your opponent's robot, and the first player to get to the best of 3 is the winner. And this one gives a +2 attack if you have 2 or more ranged parts on your robot. You may choose not to replace a ranged part once per game. And we'll get into that in a second, I hope. This player here has thrusters, which is really good. It negates 2 from the enemy's defense. Maybe I should zoom in for that for you. It negates 2 from the enemy's defense and gives you a 5 or more attack. Or, I mean, if you have a 5 or more attack than the enemy's defense, you destroy the enemy robot. It's really a pretty good card. Now, we're going to go back to this one real quick because I was so far away. This symbol here is ranged combat, or the symbol for a ranged weapon. There's also another symbol. My kids like to call it a gear. I call it a saw blade because I think of a robot with a saw on his arm, and that's a melee weapon. Or a close combat weapon if you prefer. So this player's first, and basically what he does is he draws a card. And it's a tactics malfunction card. You don't generally show this to your opponent. You will look at your card before you play it, and this card goes into your hand. You're allowed 2 tactic cards in your hand. Player 2 goes, and he draws a torso. And I'm actually going to flip this over so it's easier to follow. And I'm going to flip these weapons over. And actually, I'm going to turn these sideways for those of you that are Magic players. They're not tapped. I'm just doing that so that it's easier for you to keep these apart from each other. He draws a torso. What happens when you draw a body part that's already in play is you replace it and put it in the graveyard, the old one. He draws a head. So he's got 3 parts already. That's a really good head. He draws legs. He has a right arm. He has a head. Ooh, this is going to be short. He draws Tactics Overload. He draws Salvage. See, now, this is where Salvage can either make you or break you. He only needs an arm. In the graveyard, there's actually no parts that have been drawn yet. So the Salvage goes in here, and he has to dig through the spare parts and draw an arm. The best arm he can do is one that's used on either arm, and it's a 1/1+1. This guy needs 2 arms, and then they can go to combat. He draws a new torso. That torso replaces this old torso. But once per game, you may choose not to replace the item if you want. And you know what? He is going to go ahead and, since he's got that card that allows him to win if he's at +5 or more, he's not going to replace it this one time. And he's going to discard the card that he actually drew. He draws an arm, and it's either arm. So he's going to go ahead and keep the 3 damage and replace that arm. He draws a right arm. He draws another head, which is really good for him. He draws another head. That's not so good for him. He draws a torso, replacing his torso. Draws another head. Robots have a silly, simple program that makes them replace the parts as they draw them. They don't get to decide. This guy draws a salvage. He has nothing that he needs, so he has to discard the salvage and draw again. Do the same thing again and again. Oh my gosh. 4 salvage cards in a row. 5 salvage cards in a row. Legs. He must replace his legs. And he draws an arm. Now this can be used as either arm, so he has to use it there. Now he's got 2 tactics cards. He has a torso. He can't make his torso malfunction, but he can go ahead and make his arm malfunction, which means he can't use his arm for combat resolution in this game. And he's going to go ahead and double. He's going to overload one of his arms and double the power or the attack and defense powers of the weapon. So we're going to start down here and we're going to resolve combat. We're going to do this pretty old school. He has the upgrade right arm, so this printed value is doubled to a 4, and then the printed value is doubled again to a 4, so that's 8. We have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And I'm just going to abbreviate AT and DEF for defense and attack. 10, 13. 13 attack, which seems absolutely high, right? But now you look at his defense is awful. 2, 4. That's awful. So we're going to put that there, and then we're going to go over here and we're going to check out. Oh, and actually his defense is -2 from the special weapons card that this guy has. Enemy robot defense is -2. So not looking so good for that robot at this point in time. And we're going to do the same thing on this for the other robot, attack and defense, AT and DEF. However, he has no attack. His attack is 0. Things are not looking good. He will go ahead and double his torso to a 6. The printed value becomes doubled. 7, 8, 9, 10. His defense is a 10. So, as you see here in this example, the 13 is clearly greater than the 10 defense, and the 0 attack is clearly worse than the 2 defense, so there is no tie, there's nothing to break here, and this robot smashes that robot into the ground. Now, to set up for the next round, you take all the parts, put them into the graveyard, and all the tactics cards. And I'm going to go ahead and pull all these salvage out and just set them aside and slide them into the deck. And the other thing you do is you take all the spare parts and put them into one pile, because those are needed to start the next round. You keep your upgrade and your weapons card 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 of these body part cards. Put one at the bottom, put one there, put one there, put one there, put one near the top. And you randomize your deck. Beep Beep Attack is one of those games that just seems to have the right combination of elements that make it work. You know, in one-on-one play, you go back and forth, and it's a pretty straightforward, fast and furious battle of draw-go. It's not really a race, because it's not the first person who gets their robot complete gets to win. It's, you know, both players have to complete the robot and then go to combat. So it's not a race, which would, you know, rely more on luck. It's a little bit more of luck and strategy. But when you get to the group play level, the game kind of transforms. It becomes a different engine. And that is really good for the game, I think. What I like most about the game is the game that sticks out in my mind the most is we played a 4-player game, and my son, in the very first round of the game, he crushed 2 robots. So he was... Oh no, he crushed 1 robot. And then my other son crushed another robot. And then in the very next round, another player ended up crushing the robot. And we only actually played 2 rounds, and I ended up crushing 2 robots in that round for the win. It was really kind of a short-lived thing. You know, it took about 15 minutes to play that game. But the semi-cooperative kind of not teamwork effect that was present there is going to change a little bit when he comes out with the expansion and he makes the cooperative version where all the players combat a single robot. I don't know all the details on that yet, so maybe I shouldn't have spoken too much about it. But maybe he'll do an update on that. Anyway, when it was time to go, my boys didn't want to leave. And that says a lot for 2 17-year-old boys in high school with mixed gaming interests of everything from Myth, the miniature board game, to War Machine, to Drop Zone Commander, chess, Mage Wars, Magic the Gathering, simple games like Flux. Well, not so much simple, but, you know, it's a different style of play altogether. And if I didn't say chess, I mean, kind of games they don't like are checkers. You know, so, you know, and things like that. But they like Munchkin Treasure Hunt, which is a totally different genre altogether. So they have a wide variety of gaming interests, and this game held their interest for about 4 hours. It is the perfect type of game to play when you're waiting around for friends to show up, when you know you're going to be on the road or going someplace where you're going to have some downtime. It's the type of thing you play after a Magic tournament at the Perkins when you're staying up all night, or between rounds, or heaven forbid in the emergency room while you're waiting around for things to be taken care of. Because it's a short, fast game, it's easy to pick up and clean, and it fits in your pocket. So thanks for watching. Check out Awesome Games Kickstarter, and I hope you buy in, because this game really deserves to be in print.